Welcome, everyone. It's the Crypto Lark. Very excited to have a chance today to speak with Sandeep from Matic. How's it going, man?
Hi, hey man, it's going very well. I am in New York currently for the blockchain week, and it's been a crazy ride here. I mean, it's like who's who of crypto, the blockchain industry is here. So it's going very well for now. And thanks a lot for giving the opportunity to be with you at your amazing channel here and in front of your amazing community. Thanks a lot.
For sure. Well, I know I've had a lot of people asking about Matic and what you guys are doing, and I haven't had much of a chance to look into it yet. Unfortunately, I'm not able to participate in IEOs on Binance because they exclude New Zealanders, so I'm excluded from that. But that's okay. You can always look on the secondary markets and all that fun stuff. But
Yeah.
but I wanted to actually ask you a bit about the IEO today. But before we do that, can you just give us the elevator pitch? Explain it to me like I'm five. What's the really simple version of what you guys are doing at Matic?
Okay, so basically the biggest problem with blockchain, like we all know since like whole last one and a half year, we know that the problem is scalability. The blockchains are there as proof of concept, I would say primarily, but it's very hard to build applications. Like Bitcoin is a proven model, but apart from that, for building dApps, building actual applications on blockchain is still on the proof of concept level because of the bad user experience, the slow transactions, and then high cost of transactions. So what Matic does is that enables these mass user applications to be on blockchain. It's a layer 2 sidechain platform which allows faster transactions at very low cost for the dApp developers. And it's like, since it's based on plasma, so the security of the assets is still managed by Ethereum blockchain. So in a very simple term, you can think of it as a faster Ethereum on top of a slower Ethereum, like the main chain. So what did you do is that rather than running your chain here, you run your chain on the side, on the layer 2, and then every 5 minutes the transactions, the cryptographic proof of the transactions keeps on getting synced with the main chain. So you get an instant finality here on layer 2 for your dApp transactions within like 1 second,
Mm-hmm.
and every 5 minutes you get a final finality on Ethereum main chain. So like Bitcoin also has 7 minutes finality, right? So that level of strong finality, I would say, you get here, and then the dApp level finality you get here. Yeah, that's
That's
let's in yeah.
That's pretty cool. So using layer two essentially for massive scaling, whereas you're
Yeah.
still then leveraging the power of Ethereum's network for security. So pretty cool
Yes,
stuff.
yes. Yes, like, so one important thing I should also mention is that there's a famous or hypothesis, not hypothesis, I mean this concept which is called Scalability Trilemma by Vitalik Buterin. It says
Mm-hmm.
that apart from scalability, decentralization and security, you can choose only two of them, right? So in this structure which I mentioned you, that there is a side chain, and then in between there is a validator layer and Ethereum. So how that happens is that scalability trilemma is broken down into three layers, right? So the first layer, you achieve scalability via this layer, while using some trade-offs on this. But the other two layers compensate for the security and the decentralization. So there are some scaling projects and some blockchains already, like, but they have a lot of criticism in terms of that they are centralized, stuff like that, right? Because they have traded off the things that we are also trading off here, but then they don't have the lower parts of it to provide the scalability and decentralization. So we say that Matic is like one of solutions in the market which actually tries to achieve scalability while still ensuring the decentralization, permissionlessness, and the security of the blockchain. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. It's a pretty good elevator ding. It's a good elevator pitch. I like it. These are really important ideas in terms of really what it is that you're building,
Yeah.
and this scalability is just it's awesome, obviously, to bring this kind of in for decentralized applications, because as we've seen with many examples, CryptoKitties and all this stuff, it brought Ethereum to a near standstill. And the old ICO model also was very problematic with gas wars and all these things happening at certain times when there'd be a lot of ICOs happening. And so moving to these layer two solutions is really important. But I did want to ask about your IEO specifically. I mean, Matic token has done very well since launching on the open markets a couple weeks ago. But I wanted to ask you, what was the decision behind actually doing an IEO versus doing an ICO? So what were the advantages for Matic in actually pursuing that IEO model instead of the old, more traditional idea of, your website, you're doing all the KYC and all this stuff? And
Yeah. So I think like the whole ICO model, in the last year got like a bit distanced from the original core idea of getting the community buying the tokens of a network, which could prove to be useful later on. Because last year, like we all saw that there were tons of ICOs, maybe in thousands, which did a large amount of private sales, and then the actual public got minuscule amount of it. And then once they got listed in some exchanges or whatever in the secondary markets, that there was a general idea in the community that the big holders of the tokens, which may have got at higher discounts, are actually dumping like it's called dumping in the market. So they dump on the private investors. So those were some of the things that we thought that we should not do it, and we should go with a larger distribution to retail customers. So a large part of our token sale happened on retail. So like 85% of the tokens were distributed to the actual retail participants. And you were just saying that why the IEO performed well. And I think that the bigger and a very important part of that is that a large part of our holders is our community only. There are no big VCs essentially who are there to sell their tokens or whatever to the public. And then the other part is the larger amount of like the lockups for everyone. So like we did like 5.6 million, for example, in token sales, and then 5 million got was given to public only, and then the rest, only 600k, was with private guys. Out of that, even like 435k was at IEO price only. Even if they were private guys, they still got at the IEO price. So they did not get any benefit. It's just that their amount of participation was higher. And only 165k had some discount, which participated like 1 year back, and like these were the like very close and long-term supporters of the
is that
project.
Coinbase?
So now,
I got the,
I mean,
the 65k in the discount.
No. So no discounts on the tokens and all that. Exact specifics, it's under very heavy DNA, but they are not in the discount bracket for the token. That I can clearly say that. So, but then also even those guys, they got only like 50% unlocked on day zero, and the rest 50% is after 6 months. Apart from that, there is no unlocks for the external token buyers. It's all the the foundation and the team, which has obviously the responsibility running the project. So what I feel is that why the price is doing good is that, one, of course, we have very strong fundamentals. As we are speaking today, Decentraland, which is a top 100 project, and you were just mentioning CryptoKitties, so it's a larger version of CryptoKitties, right? It's a top 100 project on market cap. They announced that their entire marketplace of the in-game assets is going to be on now on Matic, and there are multiple games who are building on them. They'll be building their games on Matic. So that's like a huge approval for our fundamentals, right? So fundamentally the project is strong, and then I think the token economics as well as the distribution is more efficient, I would say, and then that is what is yielding to a lot of good performance for us in the market, because there is no like artificial sort of activity which generally happens, I think, with many projects.
Yeah, it's great to have a strong community focus and to get as many tokens into the hands of regular community members as possible, because we see that mistake being made by other ICOs where 97% of the available tokens go to VCs
That's
and big
ridiculous,
money investors, and 3% goes to the public. And sometimes you can do well out of investing in those ICOs, but the reality is that you have a massive amount of money that's going to be continually sold, a massive amount of tokens that are going to continually be sold in the public market by these big investors who are looking to get their
Exactly.
money back, and you can't blame the big investors.
Yeah.
They need to get a return on their investment, but it makes
Yeah.
it tough for any of the public investors that come in
Yeah.
for that public sale or afterwards. Now, you mentioned Decentraland, and you've actually
Yeah.
got some very interesting partners. It's not just Decentraland. You're also working with Zebi and with MakerDAO, and I see that the 0x protocol will be implemented on the testnet here coming in
Yeah.
the next couple of months. So that's all very exciting.
Correct.
Obviously, 0x is massive, and MakerDAO has been making, it's got what 2% of Ethereum or something locked up in it right now. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. 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 So, with so one is like you were mentioning something about the large investors also. I want to go back to that. So the large investors also have a systematic, selling strategies, right? The smaller retail investors, they are never like, they don't have a systematic selling, kind of strategy. But the larger investors, when if a project has a large number of big investors, they can actually have a very systematic control of the price. So that is also one thing that I want to mention on the previous model. The
Mm-hmm.
second one was the regarding the partners. So MakerDAO, yes, of course, like DAI has been a phenomena in itself in this space, and I think one of the biggest stamps of approval on the decentralized finance space, and it's like sort of the backbone of decentralized finance right now. So we support DAI on Matic network. It's already like on the test net, it's functional. And then imagine like those DAI transactions you had on a layer 2 solution like Matic, where you can do this fast transaction like or at like 0.01 cents, right? So like imagine you transferring, or imagine you having a Venmo kind of application where like people who are in US, they know Venmo, right? Where you can deposit your funds from your bank account to this app, and then you can spend it with your friends, split your bills, and tons of stuff like that. Now imagine that can be done with DAI, because now it's on layer 2, not on Ethereum. Like Ethereum will have like half a like 0.2 to $0.5 transaction for a normal DAI transaction if you're sending to somebody. But imagine that payment happening on the Matic sidechain, where you can transfer it like 0.1 seconds, and it happens like 1 second in 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
So the user experience is very close to what, or even better than what you see or have today on with your centralized credit cards, or whatever, like the kind of digital wallets you have with the banks. So that in itself is a big thing. And then overall, once DAI is there, the protocols like 0x and DEX protocols are there, and other kind of DeFi protocols are there. That is our objective, to enable the decentralized open finance also on layer 2. So those things are very close to us. And similarly, like you talked about Decentraland, so the gaming is also is a very big focus for us, where like now you have this kind of user experiences where where you're playing a game, and then your transactions are happening in the background. You don't even get to know to that how those transactions are, how fast those
Yeah, you can
transactions are.
just see a result after the game. Oh, I did really good today, and I've got all these points from
Yeah,
whatever it might be, and these
correct.
microtransactions are happening. And with DAI as well, you can really see the microtransaction potential for that. If the actual fee for sending that DAI becomes, a 50th of a cent or whatever it might be on a
Exactly.
second layer solution, then
Yeah,
we can actually talk about sending someone a half a cent for certain activities like seeing ads or whatever it might
yes,
be. And we're really
exactly.
changing the paradigm, and it's all secure and it's all decentralized and it's all transparent, which again is just blowing the old competitors out of the water in terms of the offering that it can bring forward.
Exactly. That's the point, and that's why there's a lot of expectation from Matic. And then yesterday I was like, there are use cases like like we get paid monthly, right? Generally, why can't I be paid every hour, right? So if I'm
Yeah.
paying for working for a company, why can't I be paid like every hour? And by the end of like let's say 1 week, I already have that money with me, which I can deploy on various ways. Otherwise, I'm like actually loaning that money to a company which I'm working for 30 days, right? That
Mm-hmm.
money is mine from the time I put in the work. So why can't we have those kind of structures where every hour I'm getting paid via some system? So this kind of system can actually enable that decentralized finance and the decentralized future that we all are expecting. Yeah.
Very cool. Now, so obviously, one of the things that we're talking about here are these layer two solutions. So we're talking about side chains, we're talking about Plasma. obviously there's a lot of other people working on this as well, from the guys at Raiden, which are working on, layer 2 solutions. We have Omisego, who's doing a lot of work on Plasma, and we have Engine, a lot of other guys. So what makes you so different from these other people who are working on this technology right now, and why should people be interested in Matic over something like Raiden, or whenever Omisego gets around to deploying something with Plasma?
Correct. So let's take one by one. So for example, Raiden, right? So Raiden is so we'll have to get slightly deep into the network economics of how Raiden works. So Raiden is just like Lightning Network, right? So in Lightning Network, you have these state channels. So let's say if I want to send the money to you, either we should have a channel open between you and me. So that means I can't do, like, if I have to do one-off payment, then there's no point in opening a channel and then sending it to you.
Mm-hmm.
I will have to pay you on the main chain itself, and which is very costly. The other way is, generally, when you are using these payments, generally you will not have an open channel. So what happens is that money is routed through various hops. So if I am going to pay to you, maybe you are connected to, let's say, a Starbucks payment channel, and I am also connected to, like, some friend of mine who is connected to Starbucks channel, and then the payment goes to you. So via 3 hops. Now the trick here is that if I'm sending you 1 Ether, all the 3, 4, 5, whatever number of hops are between us, they should hold 1 Ether in between. That means all of these hubs in this kind of architecture in between, they need to hold the similar amount of liquidity if they are to transfer the money from one account to another. Now, hold on to that thought. Now, this thought is already very difficult, and kind of one of the biggest reason why Bitcoin Lightning Network has not been able to do what was expected from it, because you need to have this big network effect of these hops which can enable these millions of or billions of transactions there. Now with Bitcoin Lightning Network, the problem is like slightly lower because they have one asset. Imagine you had the similar kind of structure with Raiden, and then you have these channels, but you have hundreds of different kind of coins to transfer. There is a very high possibility that only one or two or maybe five of them will ever be able to, if at all this kind of network attains a stable enough liquidity. There will be two, three, four kind of coins which can be used. Now, so that's why that kind of it's very difficult for that kind of architecture, even for Lightning Network, with Bitcoin's kind of being the number one blockchain undoubtedly, and then most spread out blockchain in the world in terms of usage. Even it's possible difficult for Lightning Network. It's extremely possible, or maybe very difficult, like very, very close to like impossible also, to achieve that liquidity in this network for everything in Raiden. Now compare that with Matic. With Matic, you don't need anything like that. It's like when you send me Ether, let's say you have 1 Ether, you are looking to send it to me. You simply have to have my address. You send it to me. You don't need to wait for me to open a channel or whatever. I receive as a passive recipient. I am not an active recipient in that transaction. Similarly, the same way, whatever you do in Ethereum works the same way on Matic also, right? So you just need to know my address, not even my Matic address, because my Ethereum address is my Matic address. Like both the addresses are valid for me on both the chains. So you simply send it to my address and I'm done. Like whatever number of coins you have, even if like millions of coins, the peer-to-peer transaction works out of the way. So from Raiden, it's a much superior. Imagine the situation for DAI. If DAI had to be successful payment on Raiden, like all the networks and the hops in the network have to have a stable amount of liquidity of DAI, which is not the condition. So the network bootstrapping is very, very easy here, and possibility of reaching a viable architecture. The second question from your side was, how do you compare with Omisego, right? So if like we don't generally publicize this, but if you go to YouTube and simply search for Plasma Call 4 5, you will find people like Vitalik Buterin, Joseph Poon there on a call discussing Plasma, and you will find Matic CEO Jayanti also over there. Like, we have been close contributors to the Plasma group, right? The original Plasma implemented. In fact, we were one of the first teams who implemented Plasma MVP, which was the third flavor of Plasma. Basically, we were one of the first teams who implemented that. But then we saw a lot of usability problem in those Plasma architectures, because they use UTXO. So Bitcoin blockchain is like a UTXO, right? So imagine you having a Ethereum layer, and then you are transferring your assets to the layer 2, but the layer 2 is UTXO based. So the dynamics are very, very different there. And then layer having on UTXO provides some easy benefits to provide proofs to the main chain for some smaller kind of transactions. But the moment this popularity picks up, that benefit of easier proofs gets very easily counterbalanced by you having a large number of UTXOs, because then it becomes very, very difficult to combine those UTXOs to create proofs. But that's a very technical part. But what I'm saying is that usability and user experience wise, it's not optimized. That's why don't we have a Omise Go Plasma for the last 2 years? It's been almost like last 2 years, right? Is that a question to think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we left not left, but we actually came out with our own flavor of plasma, which we still keep reading the research on that and contributing to that wherever we can do. Even ETH research recently also we have put in some things, and I would like to ponder upon that, using DeFi to solve a lot of further user experience problem for plasma, which other solutions can also pick up, like Omise Go solution can also pick up. But the Matic plasma is a different flavor. It's an account based plasma rather than UTXO based plasma. So as I told you that, imagine it as a Ethereum on top of Ethereum. So you have a faster Ethereum on top of a slower Ethereum. So that's the biggest differentiator, and that's why you see already a lot of adoption happening. So in US also there are gaming companies which are going to be SEC verified, and even they are looking to work on Matic network. So there are a lot of work in the hood. So we are not here like since since our IU launch. We are here in the last since the last 1.5 years. Why Coinbase has supported us? Because Coinbase and a lot of ancillary teams out of them, they have used our products. So we are the owners of one of the most famous Ethereum tools called Dagger. So, and then we are also one of the core implementers of, like, the original protocol in Node.js has been written by us for Wallet Connect. So we have already been there in the architect, in the infrastructure. It's just that we have come out in public now, right? Once our development was complete, and then the situation was all right for us to come out. And we have done so much development already that we are very, very close to our are releasing even our mainnet. So it's not like for us it's going to be 1 year or 6 months to launch our mainnet. We are very, very close to that. We've already finished most of our developments. So
Well, the
things like
mainnet
that.
beta is in July. I mean, the mainnet alpha is already out, but the beta is coming in July. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we are launching a pre-mainnet kind of version now very soon, and then there will be a kind of a alpha version, and then so there's a cycle. It will keep on getting battle tested, and then more and more functionality will get added and released to the public, and it will go to the mainnet. Audits and all that are also the things that are going to go through. So that's one part. The other part, important question you asked is that how are you different from these, and what are you going to do to achieve larger scale adoption? The second part is, I spoke about the user experience a lot, right? The other part that we are very, very keenly focused is the developer experience. Nobody talks about that, right? If your blockchain is so hard to build, like I'm a big fan of Tezos, to be honest, right? Like in terms of their they have been the only DPoS chain till now which still has fair amount of respect in the market by not being like called as centralized or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But their programming language, to me, like, it's my personal opinion, I can be completely wrong over there. The programming language is going to be a slightly difficult to program on, because maybe because of the basis of the OCaml and stuff like that. But I mean to say over there, and second, and the similar thing applies to, let's say, the newer blockchain. Like, there are a lot of projects last year that happened. They have a layer ones, right? A lot of layer one solution are coming. Imagine you being a developer. I am also a blockchain developer. If you ask me to go to a new blockchain and then understand the entire whole dynamics of the blockchain and then start building my dApp, it's a painful job for me. But Ethereum has already the largest share of blockchain developers in the platform, in
Massive
the,
community.
like, massive, like 95% of all the top developers are there on Ethereum. Now for them, they don't need to learn even a single alphabet worth of code to deploy on Matic. It's everything on Ethereum. The tools that they are already used to, the MetaMasks, and then daggers and the other kind of tools of the world, they are directly applicable to Matic sidechains, because Matic sidechains are also EVM based, right? So for you simply have to if you are decided that, okay, I need faster transactions, lower cost and everything, for a developer, if you are an Ethereum developer, you are already a Matic developer, you can start deploying your stuff with minimal kind of this thing. So those are also, some of the things that are heavily in our favor. The third one would be the geographical advantage that we have. So even if India was very very less present in the protocol wars of the last 1.5 years, and you did not see any big projects, protocol projects out of India, but imagine the world now moving, because a lot of projects are now there with mainnet. Imagine the world moving into a world where the blockchain world moving into a world where now there is competition on applications, user applications. In user applications, India is big. The number of developers that we have building user applications is larger than the populations of many countries, right? Most of the countries, many countries is the bad word. In most of the
That's a
countries,
lot of developers.
our developer population would be, if you count them, it would be like 20th or maybe 15th biggest country in the world, right? So we are very close to that. And last year, like, we did like 15 to 20 hackathons in all the top key schools of India, and this year we'll do maybe 50, right?
Nice.
It's huge. So those are the things that we think that are heavily in our favor, and if we keep on delivering, hopefully we'll be able to fulfill the expectations of our community.
Very, very cool. And one thing I want to ask about too is we've talked a lot about Ethereum, building on Ethereum, and all these different things, but there's a lot of different blockchains out there that are running the Ethereum virtual machine. So is Matic going to be able to run on top of those other blockchains? Is there any kind of conversation happening now about running on top of Quantum or Tron or something like that? Anyone who's running the EVM, or is it just solely focusing right now on getting Matic running on Ethereum?
Of course, like, Ethereum is the first love for us, right? So we've, as kids, in blockchain space, we grew up developing on Ethereum. But yes, like, Matic architecture is built in a way that it is not like dependent or constrained on Ethereum only. The moment other blockchains are able to pick up traction and they have like stable enough base over there, we can simply add them. So imagine Matic side chains in future can be something where you have, which you can call as a homogeneous place where you have ERC20 assets. Maybe tomorrow, who knows, maybe Tezos's assets, EOS's assets, Tron's assets. Anything is possible over there. But we would go slowly on that and see which layer ones actually go, you have chains which will pick up a lot of adoption, like maybe Binance chain and all that stuff. So we are very much well poised to integrate like Cosmos, Polkadot. So these are all open scenarios. We have to see and pick and choose that which chains would be the best to support.
Well, Ethereum's got that proven track record, which I think makes it important. Now, I want to talk about staking as well. So the purpose of the Matic token, is this primarily for staking within the ecosystem? And if so, how many do you need to stake? What's the staking like? What are the percentages like that you can actually earn as a reward for staking, etc.?
Yeah, so Matic token has primarily two utilities. So it's, of course, a staking token, being a POS sidechain. It also is currently used as a gas fees in the, like, just like on the Ethereum, to promote or to support or pay for the transactions on the sidechain. Though we expect to add a lot of abstractions for the end users, so for example, when you are on Ethereum and let's say you have some very pricey ERC20 tokens and you have it on your address, but you don't have Ether on that address, you can't send it to me, right? You have to first get some Ether, then you pay with gas fees. So it's a problem of user experience. So in future we want to enable that whichever ERC20s are liquid enough, you can actually transfer using, like, you don't need any other thing. You can actually pay for gas fees in your own ERC20 token. In the background, it can get swapped bit by Matic network in using some liquid DEX.
So you're the stakers, the miners, and they're still getting paid, and they're preferred tokens. So the stakers in Matic or the Ethereum for
so they are still getting paid in Matic, but your token, let's say you sent me X token, so this X token goes to a swap, like Kyber swap, gets swapped with Matic network, and then they actually get the fees in Matic itself.
Right. Got
Getting
it.
my
Got it.
point?
Got it. So
Yeah,
that, but that's amazing of itself. Again, it's about user experience. If I can send you, I don't know, 50 monkey tokens, for example, and I just I got a bunch of monkeys sitting over here. I was looking for the nearest thing, but I do. Check out. Let's show you one of my favorite guys. He's actually technically a gibbon,
yeah,
but you know, regardless.
yeah. I
Anyway,
need
so
monkey tokens now.
it's gonna be the hot new IEO, guys. Watch out for monkey
Yeah.
IEO coming up. No, but seriously, so if I send you those, basically I'm sending 50, but I'll have to pay 0.001 extra gas
Whatever is the
in that
fees. Yeah.
token, and that gets automatically swapped over to Matic and paid out to the stakers that way.
Exactly. If let's say Matic one, like let's say the fees is one Matic tokens, which is let's say worth 0.1 cents, and one monkey token is like let's say uh 0.01 cents. So the fees will be 10 monkey tokens, right? So when you transfer 50 tokens, so the 10 monkey tokens will get swapped against Matic and it will go as fees, and the receiver will receive 40 monkey tokens
There you
or
go.
whatever. Depends upon the fees.
Watch
Yeah.
out, guys. It's coming. Hot new IO of the year. Now, last question I want to follow up on here is about your Coinbase partnership. Now, the Coinbase wallet is going to be supporting Matic apps, and you're also going to be running USDC on Matic. Is that correct?
Yeah. USDC, yes, USDC is already supported. That's the first level of integration with them. The second one is that, since Matic is a layer 2 platform and they also wish to add layer 2 platforms in within their, within their wallet and, their dApp browsers. So we definitely, because we come from the family, so, we expect Matic, layer 2 also to be added with their, existing wallet, which gives you a large number, like huge number of their users to use dApps on Matic. Yeah, that's the plan.
And Matic's not listed on Coinbase yet, is it?
It's not yet. It's so Coinbase has a lot of criterias around that. So definitely, I mean you know, I
I know
mean
you
that's a
can't say
double
anything.
possibility.
I'm just gonna
Yeah, and
curiously
it's
rub my
like too
chin
early,
here
like,
and
yeah, we don't want like too much of speculation on everything, So these has to be organic and stable, progress on everything. So
yeah,
you know, yeah.
absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on talking about Matic. It's a super interesting project. Obviously, scalability is such an absolute hot topic right now, and I like the way that you guys are doing it. Building on top of Ethereum for security, but then enabling that layer 2 solution where you can have massive scalability, which is of course what is needed to make
Yeah.
dApps that people can be using in the millions of
Yes.
users. So
Yes.
very, very
Yes.
cool stuff. Thank you for
Specifically,
coming
yeah,
on.
specifically from Ethereum community, like now we want to take on the fight to the, some of the other blockchains which have been like, promoting these faster transactions while they are centralized. But now all those features are there on Ethereum itself with Matic, right? So now we want to take on the fight to those big chains like, EOS and Trons of the world and whatever. So that's how we see the game.
Very,
Yeah.
very cool stuff. Thank you so much for coming and telling us about it.
Same here. Thanks a lot, Cryptolag. And again, I want to say thanks to your community members who, asked for an interview with Matic. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.